Hello everybody and good morning. Welcome to the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show. So we're going over the new book today, Talent is Never Enough by John Maxwell. But before we jump into the first chapter, we're going to go ahead and invite some people onto here.
Mr. Steve. All right, guys. Shamala's here. Hello. And Tracy. Hello. Benny, what's going on? Are you booked yet? Okay, so we're going over a new book, Talent is Never Enough, by John C. Maxwell. This is a really interesting book. I got this because I constantly heard, oh, you're so good at this, you're so good at this. And what they meant was I had the ability to kind of present the opportunity well. And what I realized is I was good at parts of the business just because I did the work quite often. But what I didn't have was I didn't have the rest of the skill set. And if you have the talent but you don't have the rest of the skill set, you're gonna have some issues. So putting talent into perspective, we should all marvel at their giftedness. And what he says is, yes, you should compliment people on their gift, but he goes into, you also want to remind people that the gift alone needs to be developed. It's not just, something, and I think people rely on it, and he goes into this, people rely on it too much. He said we should also recognize that their contribution to what they're doing, if they're using it. There's some people that are just miraculously good at stuff. Elon Musk, I was just reading an article this morning. Elon Musk developed PayPal. He's like, you know what? There should be a universal payment system online that everybody can plug into. Built it, paid, basically sold it off, got paid. And what did he do with the money? A lot of people don't know this. He actually had moved back in with his parents. So he sells a company for like $100 million. Has $100 million, not in cash, but $100 million in the bank. Moves into his parents' house and starts another company. He goes, there really should be electric cars. So even with all the talent, even with all the money, he still goes to develop on that talent. And, some people, might like that. Some people don't. I don't know if you like his cars. I don't think that's the point. Now what he's talking about doing is basically eliminating everybody's energy bill, which obviously raises some flags on the energy company, because obviously they don't want to lose money. But he's like, look, we can hook this up where everybody can have solar panels on their roof or solar tiles as shingles, and we can power the entire house. Along with, if everybody has an electric car, we can use the sun. The sun actually puts out more energy than anything that we have here, more energy than a nuclear bomb, and we can actually power everything we have here on Earth. He actually pitched the government on shutting off the entire power grid, and that if he was given a small square, and if you think about New Mexico being like this big, and then you take a pinhole in a piece of paper that was about the size of New Mexico that he needed to power the entire country with solar panels, just using the sun. They had done the study and the math, and the scientists were like, yeah, that would work. So he takes all the money, invested into Tesla, and he's basically broke at home with his family rebuilding another company. That's, yes, insanity, but he has talent and he just keeps developing it. So you can kind of, we should recognize contribution to society, what he's doing. We should separate what they can do from what they are. What they can do from what they are. There are some people who are super talented, but they're not good people, right? So we have to keep that in mind. It says the toughest thing about success is that you've got to keep on being a success. Talent is only a starting point in business. You've got to keep working on that talent. And this is classic in sports. You'll see somebody that like, man, that person has so much potential, and they just waste it, right? They go out, they drink, they party, and this could be high school, this could be professional athlete. I think it's easier to see in professional athletes. And then they don't show up to practice, and they're having all kinds of issues with people and personal issues, and they just don't get anywhere. Do you have what it takes? So he goes through this. He goes, everybody has talent. People have equal value, but not everybody's equal in giftedness. Some people are just physically gifted. I was watching a special on YouTube about the gentleman who won the most Mr. Olympias. He's a professional bodybuilder, Ronnie Coleman. And Ronnie Coleman was a freak. I mean, just every part of him, from his strength to his ability to work out to his development. And Joe Rogan was asking him on this particular YouTube podcast, and he's like, can a normal guy do what you do? And Ronnie Coleman's like, no. He goes, look, you can take all the drugs you want to in the world. You can go to the gym every day. He goes, but there is something called genetic giftedness. And I was blessed with that. He's like, I can't transfer it to somebody else. I can't give it to somebody else. There's no workout program. He goes, you can do the same workout program, eat the same stuff. You won't develop anywhere near what I did. He goes, it's just genetic freakiness that worked for me. Now, there's another guy, the guy who had won before him. No, I can't remember his name. Damien? Yeager. Dorian Yates, I'm sorry. Dorian Yates. Dorian Yates had won 7 times in a row, which, basically, or 6 times in a row, he matched Arnold Schwarzenegger's, best ever, and Ronnie Coleman finally beat Arnold Schwarzenegger. And those two guys, Arnold, again, genetic freak, was just able to do it. Dorian Yates was just like, I pushed. It was love. Jay Cutter, it was love. It was love for the sport. They didn't have necessarily the genetics, but they pushed every ounce of effort that they possibly had. Another gentleman that I've watched that really hit hard was Usain Bolt. Usain Bolt, Olympic track star, said that, yeah, I could run faster, but there's no point because I've beat everybody and I've broken every world record there is. So he was good with being good enough, but what is the actual human potential of a Usain Bolt? Could he have ran, a second faster, which, doesn't seem like a lot, but a second in 100-meter dash is like the difference between first and last. That's how close it is nowadays. So everybody has talent. Number 2, develop the talent you have, not the one you want. So unfortunately, some people, and this is classic, people are like, I want to play golf, but they're just, golf isn't for them. Or I'll give you another one. I want to play basketball because I've had friends that wanted to do this. I had a friend that wanted to be a professional volleyball player, but he was 5'8". And for those of you who don't know, hardcore basketball is usually played by people 6 feet and above. Not always, but in most cases. So he just had a very hard, he was an amazing player, and he was gifted in some forms, but he wasn't gifted in height. So therefore, he had a big issue. I mean, it was really hard for him to compete, and kept getting knocked off of teams. He got to the finals every time because he could play, but he always got knocked off the team, meaning the finals of when they're picking the teams. He always got knocked off because he couldn't make it. Anyone can make choices that will add value to their talent. It says the key choices you make, apart from the natural talent you already have, will set you apart from those who just have talent alone. So that's a big separator. There's a lot of people who are decent. There's a lot of people who are good. A lot of people inside of direct sales and network marketing ask, well, how can I do this? There's so many people out there, right? That's the argument. Well, there's so many people out there in the market. Why would somebody choose me? It's the little bit of extra work that you're going to do. It's showing up early. It's staying late. It's taking notes. It's, learning from podcasts or things like this. That's what's going to separate you. It's doing the extras. So he said, I've discovered 13 choices that you can make to maximize any person's talent. Number one, belief lifts your talent. So if somebody says, hey, you're gifted, you're gifted, you're gifted, you're gifted, if you start looking into that and you're like, okay, I actually believe now that, everybody has a gift. That's number one. You kind of have to believe that everybody has a gift. Because if you don't believe that, I think a lot of people who get depressed think, well, other people are gifted, but I wasn't gifted with that, because you don't have, some of the gift that you want, not the gift that you have, is really the way. I, for years, went in and worked out with people who were, amazing physical, giftedness. They were super strong. I worked out with a nationally ranked power lifter at one point. And it was just stupid, he was just able to do things that seemed superhuman. People were like, do you want to watch the Marvel comics? I was like, no, I work out with one. He was like that. Shorter guy, 5'7", was able to, bench press, work out with, a lot of people have, said, oh, I can work out with 500 pounds. This guy was able to work out with 500 pounds. The Olympic bar, when he was bench pressing, was bending at an angle. Where his hands were, it would bend down. It was insane. 545s on either side. And it looked like he was lifting 2 giant truck tires with an axle, which you probably could do that too. Just a power lifter, wasn't a bodybuilder. Had the physique of a bodybuilder, probably could have been a bodybuilder, but just loved powerlifting. Stupid. So belief, you have to believe that. 2, passion energizes your talent. So passion just means you're looking into it and actually focusing on it. 3, initiative activates your talent. Initiative to do what? Initiative to develop it. Getting around the best people in the industry of whatever talent you have. If you're a great singer, you can be a great singer in the shower and the car, but unless you get around the people who can take that and develop it to the next level where you can get a contract or you can sing on a radio or a special, you have to get in front of the right people. That's kind of what The Voice was about, right? America's Got Talent, Britain's Got Talent. That's what those shows did, is they let a bunch of people who were talented in a particular area or maybe gifted in a particular area, but you kind of saw the people who really stood out. And I remember watching one specific show about comebacks, and they were the people who had basically, come in and auditioned, and it just didn't go right. And then they came back and had gotten better because they had developed that talent. And I remember Simon, who, if you watch the show, Simon's usually the one who's the most harsh on people. He's like, I'm really impressed. He's like, you were good before. He goes, but you weren't standout good. You were just like, hey, that person's good. I can't remember their name. He goes, now everybody's going to remember your name. And that was one of the guys that got moved forward. If you're ever up late at night and you want to waste 6 to 16 hours, that's a good show to start watching. Focus directs your talent. Focus on what? Focusing on the talent. So many people read, people are like, oh, I love this book on birds, and I love this book on business, and I read a book about automobiles, and I read a book about, interdimension, construction, and there's just no commonality other than they're all books. They're not focusing on one area, and that's, across the board. You look at Think and Grow Rich. Think and Grow Rich says you will not get rich unless you focus on one area. Develop a plan. It talks about that in Think and Grow Rich. Develop a plan that kind of is so believable that even somebody who's not in the industry, if they read the plan, would believe it. But if they're like, well, I'm going to do a little bit of this and a little bit of that and a little bit of this and a little bit of that, people are like, no, that's never going to work. That's never going to work. Well, that's what I like doing. It doesn't matter what you like doing. What you like doing is irrelevant to what success takes. So you can either do what's going to work, or you're going to be at the exact same place you are now, a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, because you won't pick up. Guys, there are certain principles that you can't break. There are certain principles of physics, right, that you can't break. If you jump off a roof, I'm not suggesting that. If you jump off a roof, basic physics says you're going to hit the ground pretty hard. The higher up you are, the faster you'll hit the ground, right? I mean, that's just the way that it works. And there's no amount of, well, I don't like gravity. Well, I don't agree with gravity. It doesn't matter if you agree with it or not. There are certain principles you just can't break, and focus is one of them. 5, preparation positions your talent. So being prepared, here's a great thing. If you want to prepare, your mind, if you want the skill set and the mindset to be able to build, you're going to have to prepare and set up a time. Brandy and I were talking about this, how we've probably done more this month than we've done in the past, except for maybe the initial launch. The initial launch, I probably talked to more people on the initial launch when we got into our direct sales company in that first 45 days. And the first 45 days was probably the hardest I've worked up until this month. This month we probably put in more actual presentations, more actual effort. But it was nowhere near what we could do. One of the main key reasons is preparation. We started talking about, if we're going to do this, continuously for 90 days, what we need to do is we need to pick out who we're going to try to get a hold of the day before instead of the day of. Because what I've been doing is I've been opening up my laptop, looking at who basically has come into the lead system, and then try to figure it out from there. Catherine, how are you? Hopefully the sinus infection has gotten better, because those suck this time of year. Humidifier in the room, by the way. Humidifier in the room with a couple drops of oregano and a couple drops of eucalyptus typically will eliminate, especially if it's like in the bedroom, like next to the bed where you sleep. Because most people sleep in, whether you sleep in a house, apartment, whatever, the vent, if you look at where the vents are usually above you, and the air blows on you. And the air blowing on you dries out your sinuses, especially when you turn on the heat, which is going to happen here soon for most of us because it's going to be 40 degrees in Indiana. When you turn on the heat, it dries out your sinus passages, and that drying out is what actually makes it crack and irritate, and that's why you get sinus infection. Chinese doctor told me that. He's like, sniff. I'm like, what? He's like, sniff. I'm like, he's like, you dry. I was like, okay, what the? I mean, that was his, he's like, okay, you dry. He's like, you get humidifier. He's like, you take this, you be good. And he's the one who told me that. And that really is a good time. So
Anywho.
It worked. I digress. Practice sharpens your talents, doing it over and over and over again. Perseverance sustains your talent. Perseverance meaning you just keep doing it. Even on the good days, even on the bad days, you just got to keep going. Courage tests your talent. Teachability expands your talent. Getting around better people. Character protects it. Relationships influence it. So you got to get around good people who are also talented in that area. Responsibility strengthens your talent, and then teamwork multiplies it. So the number one thing is you can develop the talent. Now, if you look at direct sales, what are the things that make direct sales work? A lot of people don't even know that, but there's 3 main things that make direct sales work. Number 1 is prospecting. Number 2 is presenting, and number 3 is promoting. Prospecting, the ability to go out and talk to new people. Now, watch this. Some people are super talented at going out and meeting people. But if you live in a cornfield, that's not a great skill to have to develop a business. Why? Because you live in a cornfield. There's nothing around you. There's nobody to talk to. So you're going to have to, what? You're going to have to use something that maybe you're not as talented in. Although you have the skill of meeting people, you need to be able to do that online or over the phone. You need to probably do leads. Now, I had friends, this is funny, I had friends that lived in New York City before this pandemic hit, collapsed. This was like a decade, over 10 years ago. And I literally had a whole team there, like 40 people. The number one excuse that I heard is I don't know anybody. I was like, you live in New York City. They're like, yeah, I just really don't know anybody here. I was like, you live in a city that has like 12 million people in it. Like, there are people, like, you walk out the door, you run into 5 people by the time you get downstairs. I don't know anybody. What really was going on is they were introverted. There were people there. There's people everywhere. They rode the subway every day. I was like, the subway alone has more people on it than the average person came in contact with in the 1800s in their lifetime. You do that every day. I don't know anybody. What they were really saying is I'm introverted, which is fine. So if you're introverted, you're probably going to do a lot better using leads, because then you're not face to face. You don't have to worry about what you look like. You don't have to worry about how you're dressed. You don't have to worry about what neighborhood you came from. It gives you, this ability to be whoever you want to be on the phone, and you can be in your safe space making calls. You could be in Kansas. You could be in Florida. You could be in a cornfield in Indiana, and you could do leads. So talent plus the right choices equal a talent plus a person. So if you want to maximize what you're doing, the talent will only take you so far. The talent will only take you so far. Then you're going to hit a roadblock. You're like, well, I'm talented, but I just can't get to that next side. Well, it's because you have the talent, and everybody's told you have the talent. You have the belief you have the talent, but you're not developing it. And what I mean by developing it is you're not going beyond what the natural talent will take you to. The natural talent might take you to stair 10. But you might have the ability to go to stair 40 or 100. The talent is only going to take you so far up the scale. Eventually, you're going to have to do all the extra things that it takes to move to that next level. And sometimes it's developing all the things around that talent, so that way, and putting all the right things around that talent, so that way it maximizes the talent, allows you to move up farther. A lot of people ask, what is my goal? Instead of what is your potential? What is your potential? How far could you go if you went all out? How far could you go if you developed all these different talents? So, what time is it? It is. So, we really don't have enough time to jump in. That's just the start of the book. I'm going to go ahead and stop at the foreword. But that's just the start of the book. The rest of what we're going to get into, chapter 1, belief lifts your talent. So we'll go ahead and, Bess, I'll have you start with that tomorrow. Bess is helping us out every Wednesday. So we do this show Monday through Friday, 11:30 to 12. The reason we do this show is it's kind of a introduction to some of what we talk about, what we do inside the MLM Millionaire Academy, which is a school that teaches the basics for network marketing. It's non-company specific, it's non-product specific, meaning we're not going to mention what company, we're not going to mention what product. It's open to everybody, and that's what this is about. This is part of that school, and it's actually the third lesson, which is personal development, and do personal development daily. So this is part of our daily, showing everybody that, hey, we're doing what we say we're teaching. So I appreciate everybody for being on. Brandy, what's up?
I believe that's it. So we're going to be uploading each one of these videos to YouTube, so you're welcome to follow us there. And if you haven't already, go follow our group, the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show Facebook group, and we're going to be uploading them here there as well. So just in case if you miss us, you could go find us there as well. So with that, you will see Bess tomorrow, and we will see you on Thursday.
Yep.